All right, it's time for our one-on-one with the head coach, Joe Woodley, coming off a 31-17 win up on the banks of the Hudson River, beating Marist. A lot to like from that game. Very balanced once again, rushing attack, defense was great. What are your big takeaways?
Number one, Michael, I think we just got off to a really good start, and that's so important when you're on the road. And really, that's been a challenge to our guys all year. And I like to take the ball at the beginning of the games to kind of set that tempo. And it had been since South Dakota State since our offense had went down and scored a touchdown on the first possession. So for us to do that, and then really the manner we did it, had a couple tough plays in there, but also a couple big explosive plays. Pretty methodical all the way down the field. And then our defense comes out, gets a stop. Maybe not quite as early as we would hoped in the possession, but nonetheless got a stop. They punted it, pinned us down at the 10-yard line, and then we marched down. It was approximately 87 yards. I think they held us out on third down, third and goal on the 3. Would have loved to have scored a touchdown to go up 14-0. But to be able to get out of there with points when you start with the ball at the 10-yard line, is quite honestly, like I told Kyle through the headsets, hey buddy, I would have appreciated 2 first downs and a punt, and for us to go down and get points, certainly a positive. And you're off and running at 10-0, and then of course it got a little interesting there, for really for the rest of the half, kind of back and forth a little bit. Just had a hard time kind of corralling their quarterback. He made some plays with his feet, and then they made some plays too. Shoot, it's a good football team that we played out there, Michael. So they've been really competitive all year long, beating a scholarship program in Wagner this year, and in all honesty, probably, I don't know if deserves the right way, but had Butler beat, and Butler beats them, kind of down the stretch of the game, and they beat San Diego. So again, I knew it was a good football team. I knew it was going to be hard fought, and like I said, it went back and forth a little bit there in the second quarter. They score right before the half, and I certainly have some regrettable moments there down the stretch. And of course, we did some things to help them. A couple of late hits to one to extend a drive or get them down in the red zone. Then another one where we get a stop. 3rd and 6, we stop, and they're probably going to trot their field goal team out there. And I would have probably burned a timeout at that point to give our offense a chance to, get the ball and maybe go steal a possession there right before the half. But, we get another late hit. And then they, eventually go down and, score a touchdown. So it's 17-14 at half. They get the ball first. We were still winning. I still felt good about it because I knew our offense was playing well. But defense comes out first, first drive of the second half, again, still catching our footing a little bit on that side of the ball, and they go down and get a field goal and tie it up. But then our offense goes right back down and scores in 3 plays, I think. So it was I think complimentary football. I know that phrase gets tossed around a lot, but certainly there was a lot of that going on, and offense was really efficient all day long. We didn't run a lot of plays, didn't have a lot of possessions, but when we were out there, I thought they really did their thing and made a lot of good plays and scattered it around. And Logan played really good again. And it was really good to see Taj kind of get going too. Of course, we've been trying to get him the ball, but I think most teams kind of know who he is, and we got some opportunities to get him the ball, and he made the most of it, and as did a bunch of other guys. But and really the defense came up with a couple key stops there in the second half that we needed, and I know I'm kind of going all through the game here, Michael, but. It was a beautiful day to play out there. Mid-50s, no wind, sun was out, great atmosphere. It was their homecoming, which made it maybe even a little more sweet. I always take offense to that when you get scheduled for homecoming. I know nowadays it probably doesn't matter; they just pick a day. But anyways, it was a good day, and certainly proud of the effort of our guys and the coaching staff as well. I thought they both put together pretty good plans, and our guys executed them.
I wanted to touch on a couple different areas. Tosh Hughes, 107 yards in the receiving game. What type of I don't know, luxury is it to have a guy like him being a senior? We talked about Luke Woodson a week ago, and a senior that's kind of having a moment, and he had that moment. Taj did this weekend.
Yeah, he did, and like I said, it's been our intent all year to try and get him the football, and I think you've seen it at times, but but for one reason or another, maybe something doesn't quite happen right on the play where we're trying to do it, or it just kind of all came together for him Saturday, and he's such a Swiss Army knife. We use him in so many different ways. He catches, obviously he's a receiver. He catches the ball. He runs the ball out of the backfield. He caught the last touchdown out of the backfield. And again, he just gives you, because he can handle so much mentally. He's a high football IQ guy and highly competitive, probably to a fault sometimes. I have to calm him down at times, but yeah, it was great to see him have a lot of those moments. And, because this season we still got 4 guaranteed opportunities left, and we got to continue to build off of what he just did Saturday and find a way to get that guy the ball, because he's like I said, he's just so competitive, and he makes a lot of big plays, much like Woody did, or Woody has as well. And that's what you get out of seniors when they're playing their best football this time of year. It usually is going to bode well for what's to come, and that's certainly our plan, and it's a challenge for us to find a way to get that done, because guys like Taj are hungry, and it was just really good to see him kind of have all that happen for him on Saturday.
On the defensive side of the ball, we probably don't talk enough about your linebackers. Sean Allison gets some of the accolades, but probably don't talk about him enough. And then J.R. Flood has been fantastic this year. On Saturday, a 1-2 punch, 28 complete total tackles, a sack, 3 tackles for a loss between those two guys. What have you guys seen from Flood and Allison all year?
Yeah, they've been a great tandem, and they feed off each other pretty well, and they get along. They're friends. They've kind of been together here for a while, and and they had a lot of production Saturday. But I think they would both tell you they probably could have played better too, and that's what makes both those guys so special. And again, much like I said with Taj and Woody, when your older guys are playing their better football at this time of year, that usually means it's and they need to be, and they need to be setting the precedent for what it's like. And but yeah, they both did a lot of positive things on Saturday, and you mentioned Sean, and again I'd go on and on about that kid, but it's like that every day in practice. It's every game. Nobody plays harder on this football team than him, and like I said, you just got to have those guys doing that in these types of games and as we go on. So certainly proud of both of those guys.
I imagine the message to the team is one game, one day, one play at a time right now. But you got a pretty gnarly gauntlet coming up of 3 really tough games. You're now in first place in the Pioneer Football League. Let's take it one game at a time. Butler this Saturday. What stands out about those Bulldogs?
Yeah, and to what you said, Michael. Yeah, I think that's what this team has done a pretty good job of all year, is really just focusing on what's right ahead of them. And if you start, looking down the road, that's those are just distractions. We've got to worry about the meetings that we have tomorrow before our first practice of the week, and because this Butler team's a completely different animal than really what we've seen to this point. At least I'm looking at it. I always look from the lens of a defensive coach, because it's just habit. But just a really methodical offense that we're playing. They're going to run their quarterback a lot, and that poses a lot of problems for defenses, because it gives you one extra blocker that you don't usually have to account for. But they bought into it. They're very efficient. They get into really good situations. When they do get to third down, it's usually 3rd and short. And then, if they get to 4th, it's 4th and, probably a quarterback sneak. So just real impressed with them. Like I said, it's a calculated approach in how they do things. They're very effective in what they do. Their quarterback, I'm not sure how tall he is. He's not real tall. He doesn't look like your prototypical FCS quarterback, but man, is he is efficient and he is competitive. and that whole offense revolves around him, and he does a really good job. They protect the football. They chew the clock. I'm just real impressed with the way that they play on the offensive side, and they're physical, and they've got some game-breaking receivers, for him to utilize in their shot plays, and he puts good touch on the ball with, they do some, kind of some back shoulder fades, and those aren't easy throws to make, and he's, like I said, I'm just really thoroughly impressed with this quarterback. So like I said, anybody that watches Saturday, you're going to know who that offense revolves around, and he, there's a lot of similarities with him and Logan, with what we ask Logan to do, but they kind of take this guy to a, kind of a whole nother level with the run game, and again, and they're very well coached. Really impressed with that, and then on the defensive side, I just think that they're you're just a really physical group, and aggressive, and but again, they don't really beat themselves or shoot themselves in the foot. You've got to earn everything you do against them, and all three levels they got great players. I think returning guys that were all conference from a year ago, D end, middle linebacker, and then I think one of their corners, but yeah, just thoroughly impressed, and and they've been in every game that they've played, and they've won an overtime game up at St. Thomas on the road, not easy to do. They won at Dayton, not easy to do. They played Northern Iowa, and it was I want to say if it wasn't a tie ball game at halftime, it was really close, and they were going back and forth with them for a good portion of that game. Weber State, they played a team out in the Big Sky. Again, just were real efficient against those guys too. This is a really good football team. We've got a long bus ride out there. This is one of those long bus rides that we have, and so that certainly not going to be an excuse by any means, but that can certainly you're cooped up in a bus a long time. Now we'll break it up on the way out there and kind of do it the best way that we possibly can to be ready for it. But all those things can kind of deter you from what the job is, but at the end of the day, nobody cares. You got to show up ready to go, and I'm confident that our group will. I think we've got the right makeup, and we've got an awfully tough football team, and mentally, physically. So I'm just glad we're kind of in a rhythm right now, and can't wait to get out to practice with these guys, get this week going, and then get to Indy on Saturday.
The Bulldog Bowl in Indianapolis, noon on Saturday. That's Coach Woodley. Thanks for your time.